Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Jason. Today I'm in the 2023 Acura Integra, thanks to Acura of Berlin. Been waiting to get into one of these for quite some time now. The Integra name is very meaningful to me. That was my dad's car that I remember the most, was the original Integra. Obviously this one is a lot different, but it is still based on the Civic, just like that one was. And the new 11th generation Civic is a very good platform. So I'm going to talk about this one here. This is the A-Spec Tech Package version with the CVT. I'm going to talk about the other trim levels available as well. And I actually got a chance to drive the manual one a couple weeks ago, so I'll mix that in here as well. Let's go ahead and take a look. From the outside, we have 6 color options. I was in a white one a couple weeks ago. That was the manual one. This one is Apex Blue, and this is the correct color no matter what Acura you happen to be looking at. The Integra takes on a fairly similar shape to its base, the Civic hatchback, with a front end that clearly screams Acura, as do the liberally plastered A-Spec badges. We're sitting on 18s here. Unless you choose the base trim, then you're on 17s, but you do also have 19s as an optional upgrade. These mirrors are body colored unless you option the carbon fiber ones. They're heated with integrated turn signals, and on the top trim they tilt when reversing. And up above we see a moonroof no matter what trim you're in. You can option rails or a basket up here as well if you'd like. Down below you can option side molding and side underbody spoilers, as well as projector logos for some reason. Up front we see signature dual LED lights on all trims, but the fog lights are only on the A-Spec trims. A diamond front grille with plenty of cooling up front, along with big Acura badge with optional black and optional illumination, because why not? More A-Spec badges in the back if you opt for one of the upper trims, LED tails, dual exhaust, and you can option a black diffuser down here as well. A subtle spoiler is available on top of the trunk lid, and opening up the trunk we're looking at just under 25 cubic feet of space, just like the Civic hatch. Heading inside, it's hard to miss the Civicness everywhere. The seats are a bit nicer though, 8-way power adjustable and 12-way power adjustable in the top trim, with white, red, or black leatherette as material options. Contrast stitching and ebony headliners here unless you're in the base trim. The vents on the dash don't go all the way across for some reason. That was one of the nicest features in the Civic. Infotainment runs through either a 7-inch or 9-inch screen depending on the trim level, and it works exactly the same way as in the Civic, which is a very good thing. It's a touch screen, it's quick, it's simple, it's easy to use. Unlike the trackpad and the other Acura products, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are both wireless, but only in the top trim level, which seems a little strange since those are standard in the Civic SI. Unlike the SI though, we also have wireless charging, Amazon Alexa, and a heads-up display in this trim level. And underneath the infotainment, we see a tech package exclusive USB-C port in addition to the standard USB-A port. Music from the infotainment is pumping through either an 8-speaker system, or here in the top trim we have a 16-speaker ELS Studio system, which is a big leg up on the Bose system in the top trim Civic and in the Civic SI. Above the optional heated steering wheel, we have a 10.2-inch digital gauge cluster with all kinds of useful information, including your traffic sign recognition, which is also in the heads-up display if you have one. The back seats offer 37 inches of legroom, which is strangely a couple of inches more than the bigger Acura TLX sedan. It's more than enough for me, and for most adults, child seats will fit okay as well. Check out the Civic SI video if you want to see how those fit back there. And since we're in the A-Spec Tech trim, we also have 2 USB-A ports back here. So we're based on the 11th generation Civic platform here, and it drives a lot like a Civic with a few advantages. And that's not a bad thing, because the 11th generation Civic is a very good starting point. So we've got the 1.5-liter turbocharged engine that's in the upper trim Civics, and it's in the Civic SI, and it's tuned the same way as the Civic SI. So we're getting 200 horsepower, 192 pound-feet of torque. In the real world, those numbers are actually a little bit higher, around 230 horsepower and 100 or in 220 pound-feet of torque. But your torque band was around 1800 RPM is when peak hits, up to about 5200. So nice and wide. So you're not going to be, looking for the power when you hit the gas. The power is readily available, and that power goes through the front wheels. There's no all-wheel drive version. Acura has squashed any rumors of a potential all-wheel drive version in the Type S or whatever may be coming down the line. But if you do opt for the manual transmission, then you do get a limited slip differential, so that's nice. That one is not available if you get the CVT. But in order to get that manual transmission, you have to be in the top trim A-Spec tech package, which at the moment right now, Civic SIs are kind of going for the same price as a top trim Acura Integra A-Spec tech with a manual. So might not be a bad deal if you're looking at a Civic SI right now. But we're in the CVT today, and while the CVT is not my first choice here for a transmission, it is better than the dual clutch that they had in the ILX in the last generation, because that was a leftover from the 9th generation Civic. The CVT is efficient. It came from the Civic. I'm not surprised that they picked a CVT, and it's efficient for commuting. You get 30 mpg city, 37 highway. When you go up into the A-Spec tech package, you drop a little bit. I believe it's 29 city and 36 highway. Then it drops a little bit more if you choose to go with the manual transmission option. But that manual is still going to get you in the 30s, which is great for a commuter when you're talking mixed driving, city and highway. Manual is exactly the same as the one in the Civic SI, which is awesome because it's a very good manual transmission. The clutch pedal is not my favorite. It is a lot lighter than I would have liked it to be, but that's good for a commuter, and something like this is going to be used more for commuting. But the gearbox is very good, and that's something that Honda has always done really well. It's nice and tight and confident in the track. You kind of have to work for it to get into gear, and there's no ambiguity as to what gear you're in. If you want more on that, you can watch the Civic SI video. I'll link that here. Now, the regular Civic is not exactly a harsh ride by any means. The Civic SI is a harsh ride, but it's meant to be. It's tuned to be, more of a canyon carver, more of something that you can take to autocross, something a little sportier. This one, you can actually adjust your suspension. It has the adaptive dampers. So even in the sportiest setting, if you go into sport mode, you're not going to be getting super beat up, kind of like in the Civic SI. You're going to get beat up a little bit more. Even in the sportiest mode, you're not going to find that here. In the softest mode, you're going to get way softer than the regular Civic or the Civic SI, which is great for when you're just cruising around your daily commute, you're on the highway, whatever it is, and then you find a back road, you want to drive it a little bit harder, you pop it into that sport mode. Or if you don't like the settings that it gives you, then you can adjust everything yourself as well. You can adjust your steering feel, you can adjust your engine noise, you can adjust your suspension all through here and come up with a custom individual mode. Now, even in that sport mode setting, I just popped it into sport just now, the steering doesn't get quite as heavy as it does in the Civic SI, but it still actually gets decently heavy, and that's something that I really liked. It gives you a little bit more feel, a little bit more of a connection to the road. Even though the ride is a lot softer, the steering is still a little bit heavy. But if you're not someone that likes that, if you just want it to be nice and light, then you can adjust that as well in your individual mode. Yeah, you can really hear the difference too. I don't know if you can hear it through the microphone, but the exhaust sound is definitely a little bit louder here when you're in that sport mode. Sounds pretty nice too. The get up and go, it's very good. It's got plenty of response here. A lot of people complain about 200 horsepower. Again, in the real world, it's closer to 230-ish. But when you're talking about other entry-level luxury type cars, you're talking about like an A-Class or an IS 250 or something like that, then you're really not too far off from the competition here. And we are a step up from the Civic in terms of horsepower and torque here. Not the SI, obviously. Now we also have a lot of safety features here. Since we're in the top trim, we have the heads-up display here, which is really nice. It's customizable. It's got my lane assist on here. It's got my cruise control. It's got my current speed, but you can change that through your settings here. But we've also got blind spot monitoring standard, which you also get in. You can also get that in the Civic. Rear cross traffic alert. We've got the traffic jam assist, which is really nice. The sort of low speed adaptive cruise control, as well as the regular cruise control. The regular adaptive cruise control for high speeds, but the low speed is really cool when you're stuck in traffic, and you just pop that on, and then it'll creep for you. Obviously that is not available if you're in the manual transmission, you'd just be stalling. And we've got the traffic sign recognition in this one. We actually get that in all of the Integras, which is nice. It doesn't matter what trim level you're in, that shows here, and it shows up here in the heads-up display as well. The lane keep assist that I mentioned, and lane departure warning, those are both easily accessible here. On the steering wheel, as well as your adaptive cruise. The steering wheel is laid out nicely. It's nice and comfortable. We've got a nice leather wrapped steering wheel here no matter what. Some of the features that are only available in this top spec here are the parking sensors and the rain sensing wipers. That one's a little bit interesting. I wish the rain sensing wipers were in all of them. That seems like that should be available in all of the trims. And the mirrors here are heated, but they only tilt in reverse if you're in the top trim. Again, that's another one, you know, it is entry-level luxury. I would like to see that really in all of the trims, but it's a nice feature to have here for, you know, $36,000 here in the top trim. In terms of visibility here, we do have the same kind of visibility as we had in the Civic. It's got kind of the curved roof on the back for the hatchback. This is why I kind of like the traditional hatchbacks better. Well, not kind of, I do like the traditional hatchbacks a lot better with the flat backs, because then you get a nice big boxy area there for the window, and you can see a lot better out the back. And you also get a lot more use of the space, though in this one obviously it still has a ton of space. I just like that shape better because I feel like it's a little bit more of a more efficient use of space is all. But that visibility is a big part of it as well. But other than that, you know, the blind spot's not too bad. We've got nice big mirrors, and seeing out the sides here, this pillar is a little bit in the way, but not really anything worse than normal. Then A-pillars up here, not really too bad. Nice wide visibility out the front. I feel like I'm in a nice comfortable seating position as well. These seats are definitely a big upgrade over the Civic SI, since those were cloth only. And the Civic Sport Touring, you do get some pretty nice seats in that one, where they're leather trimmed. This one actually in the top trim here, they're not just leather trimmed, they also have these microfiber inserts. But it's bolstered just enough to keep me in place, but not so it's digging into my kidneys. And we've got the heated seats, which is available in the Civic, just not in the SI, at least here in America. Was one of the big complaints for the American Civic SI, I know. So as the internet likes to do, there are a lot of complaints about this car. It's not a real Integra. Oh, it's just a gussied-up Civic, or whatever it may be. It's missing this feature, that feature, whatever. But from my perspective, you know, first of all, it's always been a Civic underneath. The 11th generation Civic is a pretty good car to start with. And it's comfortable, and it's got all of the features that you would expect in an entry-level luxury car, other than, you know, I mentioned a few along the way that are nice to haves in this kind of car. But it's comfortable, it's a nice ride. It starts at $31,000. It's a pretty good package for the money. Having driven the Civic in a few different forms previously, this car is pretty much exactly as expected. It's a Civic SI with a hatchback, a softer ride, lighter steering, a nicer interior, and some more creature comforts and tech. Comfort and fuel efficiency make it a great daily driver, and the availability of an excellent 6-speed manual with a light clutch and a limited slip differential mean you can also crank it down some twisty roads with confidence every now and again. And with the way the markups are looking on the Civic SI right now, this might even be the cheaper option in some cases.